Hey, my name is Sarah and welcome back to another episode of Talking Fast. If you're watching the YouTube version, we're in my apartment.
Change of pace.
Change of
New
pace.
location.
Change of place. All of the above. We're just mixing it up. And I am fresh and back from my month away.
You just got off a plane like a day and a half ago or 2 days ago.
2 days ago. And we're going to dive into that. That's what this whole episode is going to be about. But first, just like every week, doesn't matter where we're sitting. Jacob, what are you eating or drinking this week?
Okay, I just got on the iced latte train.
Wait, what?
Yeah, like I think I've talked about it multiple times that I am like a hot coffee drinker all the time. And I don't know if I had like hate against milk or something, because there's often, if you get a latte and I don't like seeing a latte get made because you just see so much milk getting poured into it.
Yeah.
And listen, I don't do oat milk.
Oh.
I do like regular milk.
Okay.
And I don't drink a lot of regular milk. So sometimes it freaks me out if it's not stirred,
it's like
and you just
drinking like a glass of milk. Got it.
Exactly. And I'm like, what am I, a 2-year-old or
exactly.
about to go to bed?
Needing the calcium. You
shake it up a little bit. If you have a good amount of ice in there, it's 30 degrees outside.
It's perfect.
It's great. So I transitioned recently to the iced coffee lifestyle. And I have to say, it's not going to change anyone's mind because probably 99% of people are already doing this. But it is refreshing. And you know what I have been enjoying with my lattes? A little walk in the morning, a little post up in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You ever sit on a bench with an iced coffee?
Yeah, always.
I feel like
people have been doing this.
No, I know. Okay, but this is the thing. And I feel like it is kind of a Toronto lifestyle, big city lifestyle. Oftentimes, if I have a coffee, I'm like, I'm on the go. I'm going to something. I'm going to my next thing. I'm trying to slow down with the iced coffees. So that's what I've been doing.
It's funny because like this transitions so well into mine, because what I've been drinking as soon as I got back, which is only like, this is Thursday, I got back on Monday night, like cold drinks.
Not limited to like lattes? We're talking everything?
Just cold drinks, due to the fact that I was in Europe where they don't make anything cold. There is no cold drinks. There is no ice. There is no... Everything is lukewarm, and it is infuriating. And also, I just said Europe as if it's like one whole place. I was in France, but like...
But it's true though. When I was in Italy, it was the same thing. I couldn't get an iced coffee to save my life.
No, and so it took me like lots of Googling, and so it kind of goes off you saying like that you were like you're trying to sit and like enjoy your coffee more. That's their whole thing. It's like us Americans, North Americans, are too busy, go. Like you're supposed to sit and enjoy your coffee in the morning as opposed to like needing one to go.
Yeah.
Finding to go coffees was very difficult for me. Finding iced coffee specifically was very difficult. And then the weird thing is when they give you an iced coffee, they give it to you in like a paper cup. Like it's not like in a plastic, like, you know how like iced coffee... Does it have
like a sippy lid, or is it just...
like a normal, like it's like has a hot coffee cup.
Weird.
But it's cold.
That's not the right vibe.
No, it doesn't feel like you're drinking.
Off a little bit.
It does. It throws off the experience.
It almost feels like it's warmer.
Yeah, exactly. So I've just
What was your first go-to when you got back here?
A crisp, ice cold Diet Coke.
Oh, of course you did.
I landed at 9:30 p.m. and it didn't even matter. We Uber Eats Wendy's for when I got back. And all I wanted was a Diet Coke because they only have Coke Zero in France. There's no Diet Coke. It's only Coke Zero.
Was that hard for you?
And it is not the same. I don't care what people say. First of all, Coke Zero, worse. It tastes like Coke. I like Diet Coke. I want the aspartame
I like
taste.
regular Coke. I don't... And I know that people have an affinity for Diet Coke. I don't mess with Coke Zero at all. I don't like the branding of it.
No, me neither. It feels ugly. It's ugly to drink. So anyways, just a warning, if you've never been to France or like European countries, Coke Zero's the thing. It's not Diet Coke. I found one Diet Coke. And it was because it was at Pret a Manger, which is a
British,
UK brand. And they had Diet Coke. I bought 4 of them. And they were so overpriced, but I didn't care. I
a good takeaway. Like if you're going on a European summer vacation for a couple of weeks, like don't go check bag for all of your clothes and stuff, and then take your carry-on full of Diet Coke.
My friend did that when she went because she did. She loves Red Bull and she loves sugar-free Red Bull, and there's no sugar-free Red Bull there. So then anyways, it's
these
the
are the cultural
pleasures.
differences.
These are
that
the
set
cultural
it apart.
differences that divide. Everything else you can pretty much find, but the fact that there was no Diet Coke. So anyways, I had a crisp, ice cold Diet Coke with lots of ice.
Okay, that's what you're drinking this week. What are you watching or reading?
All right, so I had a very, and I'll talk about this, I'll get to this, but Monday when I was flying, I had a late flight, and so I had the morning off. I checked into my hotel, and I told myself I was gonna like live in the moment and like whatever. And I had an emotional morning. I just had an emotional day, and I was just like wandering around aimlessly. I was really in my feels about the closing of this chapter and yada yada. then flash forward, I'm sitting on the plane and like, I was like, okay, I've cried enough today. Like just sit on the plane. I have a weird guy beside me. I'll explain that later too. And I just was like, I just need to watch like a movie. I just need to like not fall asleep. I need something that I will pay a lot of attention to. Flashback to Terry Hart being on the podcast. And she said to us, specifically to me, because I hadn't seen it yet, Sarah, when you watch Past Lives, put your phone away and make sure you just like fully watch it. So I was like, okay, this is the perfect time. It's on the plane.
But also like if you're saying I've cried too much this morning, let me watch Past Lives.
But I didn't know. Note that I had zero context about what this movie was about or like anything.
Just a good unplug.
Exactly. And everyone kept talking about how great it was. So I was like, this is good. I'm unplugged. I can't focus on anything else but the movie. So I'm going to watch Past Lives. There is nothing more embarrassing than silently sobbing to yourself on an airplane.
And speaking of a movie about like, or a time in your life about closing chapters, new chapters.
No, and look, some stuff happened where it just like felt too real. And that movie specifically, there was a lot of layers that were hitting at once. And maybe that's a story for another day. But oh my God, I literally,
did you like the movie?
I loved it.
Yeah.
It was too real. And I don't think I appreciated it enough in the moment because I was like, this is too
you know
much.
What's so funny is that I feel like we alluded to this on the podcast with Terry as well. Yeah. But like it's a movie that I feel like everyone can relate to
100%.
With so many different entry points to relate to it and still feel like totally gripped by it emotionally.
Exactly.
Not an easy watch, but such a good watch.
And I am very glad I watched it on a plane because I could only pay attention to that. Like it was wonderful. Like I think there is something like cool about watching movies on planes because you have nothing else to distract you.
There are also some like really slow, nuanced scenes that hit if you're so focused
and you're like so bought into it. But yeah, if you don't want to sob on an airplane, then don't watch Past Lives. So that was my what I'm watching. What about you?
That's a good one. Okay, I skipped this train. I don't know. It came out years ago, but I started watching it. Schitt's Creek. You're just starting
Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, listen. Like
it's so
sometimes
funny it won every single award like 3 years ago.
Listen, it's so easy these days to miss something, especially if you didn't get on the train early and then you kind of just got caught up, especially a sitcom like that where there's a lot of content to watch, but needed something incredible. The other night to like kind of throw on. Been binging it a little bit. It's funny.
No, it's hilarious. Moira Rose is one of the best written characters of all time.
They're all good. They're like it's such a good ensemble cast. Obviously the Levies are great, but like everyone around them as well. Catherine O'Hara is so funny. Oh my God.
She's so funny. Alexis, like they all just have like their moments. I can't believe you're just watching Schitt's Creek for the first time right now.
I know. So anyway, this is just a quick recommendation that if you are, again, for the people that aren't drinking iced lattes in 30-degree weather, maybe you've also missed Schitt's Creek and you should go watch it.
That's actually insane because you just described me like 3 years ago when I was like on my Schitt's Creek like full binge. I've watched that series all the way through 3 times.
Oh, really?
3 times.
You know what? I feel like it does get slept on when people are talking about their favorite sitcoms, their favorite comedy series in general.
3 times.
It doesn't get mentioned, but it should.
Well, what are we listening to? Are you about to tell us that there's this underground artist named Taylor Swift?
Not a chance. There are no underground artists for me this week. This is straight pop music. It hits so fucking hard. Billie Eilish, Charlie XCX, Guess. Oh, okay. Do you know how many times I've listened to this song?
I haven't listened to it yet.
I'm deep in marathon training right now. I will be at a stoplight and I'll be like, I need to load up some good music for the next like 30 minutes of this run. You know when you drag to the right on Spotify that just like adds a song to queue? I'll just drag that song like 7 times in a row and listen to it. It's got to the point where I'm literally singing aloud while running as if I am Charlie XCX and Billie Eilish.
I find it so interesting, the Charlie XCX renaissance that is happening right now, just due to the fact that she's like been around. Like,
speaking of things that are slept on, 100%.
From The Fault in Our Stars. Are you kidding me? Me in high school, I was sobbing to that movie and then singing to that song and everything. But you know what's so funny is
that I feel like she did have that moment, the boom clap moment, and then until about a year, maybe 2 years ago, didn't really hear much from Charlie XCX.
She opened for Taylor Swift on the Reputation tour back in 2018. I saw her then.
Name a song though.
Boom clap. I'm sure there's more, but I'm not thinking about it. And it's just crazy watching her like blow up.
And you know what? The tie-in to say meme culture and in general, a lot has happened since you've been in Paris, Sarah. And we are on the Kamala Harris train right now. The Brat Summer train.
Brat Summer.
Yes. And because she has Tim Walz as her VP candidate with her now, and he is the Midwestern princess, we're doing a little Charlie XCX Chaperone 1-2. So I'm ready for my Midwestern princess fall.
I love that. I did learn I almost called it the brat dance, the apple dance when I was at the Olympics.
The hot to go dance?
No, the apple
What's
dance.
the apple dance?
Jacob.
Who's that? I
Charlie
don't know this.
XCX.
I'm not up. You know what? It's because I spent.
think
it's
the
because
apple's falling.
You know why? It's because I was gonna be so proud for a second that I'm like, Sarah, I learned the hot to go dance as well, but I was spending too much time on hot to go apparently that I missed the apple dance.
The apple dance. Izzy knows what I'm talking about. She's like probably proud of me right now because it's a very Gen Z thing.
I saw a funny video the other day. Someone was doing a hot to go dance and they just totally throat punched their girlfriend.
Classic.
By mistake.
Classic.
What are you listening to?
Well, very big concert coming up on Friday, aka tomorrow when this is being recorded. Avril Lavigne is my only artist that is like a bucket list. I'm very privileged to say she's my only artist that's like a bucket list artist of mine other than Hilary Duff. It's her and Hilary Duff that I have not seen live. And so I never got to see her when I was growing up. She was the very first CD I ever bought. The very first music video I ever bought. Remember when you could buy music videos on DVDs and they would just be the music video and like a behind the scenes thing?
Yeah.
So I bought, that was my first, I was in the grade 2, I think. So I was literally like 7, 8 years old.
You were buying music early.
Yeah, I know. I was an early adopter. And then I used to wear a tie. I used to wear my dad's ties to school when I was in 3rd grade.
Are you going to wear a tie to the show?
Absolutely. I'm wearing a tie. I'm fully getting into the lore. This is like Eras Tour Avril Lavigne version. And I am so excited. I'm going to do dark eyeliner. I'm going after this to go buy some studded bracelets and a studded belt.
Huge.
I'm going to wear a white tank top and cargo pants. And I'm going to wear a tie. I already have it picked out. It's all sitting in that other room right there. I am so excited to dance my butt off on the lawn. And by dance, I mean air guitar and bang my head. I've been listening to Avril Lavigne all week. I like literally feel like a main character walking around listening to her.
Okay.
She's like, I don't know why I don't
Here's a question
listen
for
to
you.
her more often.
Do you prefer poppy, high energy Avril Lavigne or slower, emotional Avril Lavigne?
I think the reason I love her is because of the range.
She's got range.
She's got range. You can do both. I can be listening.
What was the song
to
from like How to Train Your Dragon, How to Train Your Dragon or whatever? Keep Holding On. Keep Holding On slaps.
Yeah, that is an unreal song. No, there's just I looked up the set list because controversial. Like some people don't like looking up set lists. I always look up the set list. I want to make sure I'm getting my money.
Do you stand there at the show looking at the set list?
No, I usually look it up before so then I know roughly in the back of my head.
You're like bathroom breaks, drink break.
I have to. And so this one, straight bangers the whole time. And it's Simple Plan opening up. Also never seen Simple Plan live. Are you kidding me? I'm just
Welcome
a kid.
to your life.
My life is amazing right now. So anyways, I've just been.
That's going to be a good show.
It's going to be so good.
Oh.
It's going to be so good. Izzy's also going. So we'll just talk about it all next week and you won't. No, I mean, you won't.
Sarah, somewhere you went this week.
Can you guys see my glow? Can you see my...
Yeah, you're glowing
aura,
for sure.
I also learned there's this thing called aura, like 10,000.
Yeah, is your aura high right now? Like
my aura's high right now because I went to the spa this morning at the Shangri-La. Tara and I went and got a little massage. I had the best massage of my entire life today.
Whoa.
I threw out my shoulder when I was at the Olympics. Don't ask me how. I don't know why, but I was like, could not move my neck. And she like got the kink out. I'm a new woman. I went and sat in the sauna. I sat in a steam room. And I think all of my life's problems can be solved with a little spa morning.
Yeah. And the full round treatment, pools, that kind of stuff is great. Do you have a favorite part of the spa though? Like I like a cold dip to a hot pool.
Okay, so I don't like the cold dip. I like a hot tub and I like going hot tub, steam room, sauna.
Oh, steam room.
I love the steam room. A eucalyptus steam room. Catch me spending every single second of every single day
I get a little claustrophobic in those.
No, I love it so much. Literally make the eucalyptus feel like it's strangling me. I do not care. It's so good. I love a steam room. What about you? Just the cold dip?
It's the cold dip for sure. And then the contrast to the hot. I like a pool that has the jets on as well.
Classics. Yeah. But here's your sign to just book yourself a spa morning. It's like the best couple. And it's only like a couple $100s. And if you did like,
I feel like I feel like sometimes people think, oh, I have to go out of town to go to a big spa. A lot of hotels do just have a spa like that, or spa services in the hotel.
At the Shangri-La, you pay for, so I only had a 60-minute massage, but if you pay for a treatment that's like 75 minutes or more, then you get the services for free. Or I just paid $20 to have access to the pool. And we went like 2 hours early and we were like just chilling. Yeah. And it's the same as like what the hotel guests use. But you're right. Then you don't have to like leave the city to go to like some
you're
like
not dealing with
special
traffic.
spa. Exactly.
You're like a quick Uber, a TTC away.
Exactly. I just like literally walked. It was amazing. And now I feel like a glowing, rejuvenated person, better version of myself. And every time I go to the spa, I go, why do I not do this?
We love that.
What about you?
Okay. I went to Evergreen Brickworks this past weekend to the farmer's market, and this is just a shout out. One other thing that you missed while you were gone, Sarah, there was flooding in Toronto.
There was?
Yeah,
I'm very
massive rainstorm, and like the DVP was shut down and cars were underwater.
I was here for that.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Really?
I did not miss that. I was here for that.
Okay, that must have been a couple of days before you left then.
I was here for that.
Okay, well, what I'm talking about now is what you weren't here though. But I have an exclusive story. Brickworks got screwed over. Apparently their insurance policy is not covering a lot of the cleanup.
Really?
And this has happened to a few places over the city. So this is just a shout out to go and support your local businesses. We went to the farmer's market on the weekend, supported the local vendors. There's a lot of cleanup and it's going to cost a lot of money. So basically we just don't want small businesses and or community initiatives to go under because of natural disasters essentially. So just a reminder, get out there. And it was a good time.
I've never been to the farmer's market out there. I should go.
God, it's so good.
I should go. I love Evergreen Brickworks.
And it's peach season, it's corn season. They've got little vendors with food. It was a fantastic time.
Maybe I'll do that this weekend. Yeah. I got time on Saturday.
Big recommend.
And finally, what is something that you did?
Okay, this is, I'm top and tailing the intro segment here because I started by saying I'm on the iced latte train because it's summer. However, when it comes to food, I'm already on the fall train.
What?
Haley and I made a soup the other day, chicken and dumplings, and
that
my
really
God,
good.
It hit. We just need it. You know the nights when you're like, I just need a home cooked meal. I need something that's like comfort food. Needed that. And we made it like fully roasted a chicken and then cut the chicken and put it in, made homemade dumplings, tossed it together.
Homemade dumplings?
Oh yeah, they're very easy to make.
Oh wow.
And then you cook them in the soup itself.
Dang.
And it hit. And it kind of made me excited for listening to Chapel Roan, the Midwestern Princess fall, while eating this soup. And I was like, okay, it is 30 degrees outside, but if we jack up the AC.
If you put the AC up high enough, you don't know, it doesn't matter.
Put on a sweater, get the AC going, and then you're enjoying a nice warming meal. And I feel like sometimes those are missed in the summer when you don't want to be like eating heavy meals and that kind of stuff. So it got me excited for that time of year.
So you know what? Last night at dinner, Tara had a French onion soup and I thought she was crazy for it because we were sitting on a patio, but she's like, it's
same.
perfect.
Yes, that's exactly the same. Oh, French onion soup. Maybe that's the next step.
Apparently the La Plume French onion soup is like the best she'd ever had was the quote that
Some things don't change. You left for a month and I still haven't been to the well. So
it's crazy. It's right across the street. We can go after.
Well, I might go. Something you did, Sarah.
I have been very privileged to not have a lot of bad seatmates on planes.
Okay, throwback to the past lives seatmate.
That is until this most recent flight. And it was such a juxtaposition because we all saw I upgraded myself on the way there. I'm like, oh my God, I'm business class, la la la, living my best life. And then there was no upgrades available because I tried when I went to go fly home.
You're about that life now.
I was about that life now. I was like, I'm going to, but there was no upgrades available. I'm like, whatever. I'm staying awake the whole time. I'm just going to watch movies. I'm not trying to sleep, so it doesn't matter. I have my little window seat. And for context of this story, the other seatmate, the guy that was on the aisle, him and I were chatting a bit and there was no one sitting in the middle. And he goes, oh, we'll share the leg room. Quite literally the last human to get on the plane is the guy that ends up being in our seat. And
already disrespectful.
Already weird vibes from this guy when his only luggage he brought on was a paper bag and then a plastic bag. And the plastic bag is what he
Are we talking like a grocery bag style?
Yeah,
Ooh,
that he
can't trust that on a plane.
He put above. And I was like, okay, clearly this man was some sort of germaphobe. The thing that threw me off about it was he was a germaphobe but didn't wear a mask. So I was like, okay, you're clearly not that much of a germaphobe. First thing that happens when he sits down, he won't touch anything. He starts applying hand sanitizer. This man's hands are raw. Like he's clearly been applying hand sanitizer.
He's been hitting the Sanny.
Hitting the Sanny for like months. He would apply it every 5 minutes, legitimately every 5 minutes. But that's not even the weirdest part, Jacob. The first thing he did, I literally made a notes app on my phone of weird things that this guy did on the flight. While sitting beside him.
On the slide? How do you do that? The
first thing he did was he opened up the flight. He sits down. Me and like other seatmate are like, oh, okay, I guess we don't get our aisle. Like we don't get our leg room. He opens a bag of chips out of his little paper bag that he's holding for dear life. He pulls out a bag of chips.
What kind of chips are they?
Like just like a Lay's.
Okay.
Rolls back the thing. And tell me that this man does not eat the chips with his hand. He holds the bag up and starts like eating the chips.
Like individual chips, just like tossing one out?
Like putting his face in the bag and then eating the chips. And then he clearly wasn't getting enough chip that way. So he just started fully pouring the bag of chips.
He's getting chips in the eyes.
Literally. To the point where then when like
that seems like it's a contrast between like you throw down a lot of hand sanitizer, but then you like cover yourself in chips.
100%. Me and aisle seatmate are staring at each other like, what
You're like,
is
damn,
happening?
that leg room would have been nice.
And then later he decided to innovate and he used a fork to eat his chips.
He hits the call button for the
funniest part about so then he falls asleep for most of the flight, but then every 10 minutes on the clock he would wake himself up and then reapply hand sanitizer. And I'm the only one awake. I'm just like watching this whole thing happen. And like, look, he wasn't weird with me or anything. It was just like he was an interesting seatmate.
Yeah.
And it was just like kind of entertaining for me to watch. But the funniest part for me was at the end of the flight, he's done all these weird things, like the way he ate his food was really bizarre. And he just like
was it a red eye?
No, it was just like a.
It was like a
7 p.m. We arrived at 9 p.m.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, anyways, the funniest part for me was towards the end of the flight. He's like decided he's going to stay awake for the last 45 minutes. First of all, this man was just staring into the abyss, like just staring straight, like no, like
he was raw dogging
the plane, and then he decided to. This again, I'm shocked. He decided to use the headphones that they were giving to us because I was like, okay, I thought you didn't want to touch anything. He puts on Dua Lipa's album.
This guy's a creep.
He just puts on, and that's what he decides to put on. I watch him try to figure out like a song to pick, and he just puts on Dua Lipa with his headphones and just sits there blankly. And then he brings out the chips again with the fork and starts eating chips with the fork.
The chips hit hard enough that he's like, it's time for Dua.
I have a video. Do you want to see it?
That's what you took a video of this man eating chips, watching Dua Lipa.
I had to.
I kind of respect him now that he put on Dua Lipa, actually.
Okay, that part did change my opinion slightly. I'm so sorry to the viewers, like you or listeners.
But I wish you should have.
You're not going to see this, but I just need Jacob's reaction.
I do want to see. Is there any audio to it? Like, do you have the munching of the chip sound?
Wait.
Oh, he's covered in chips. His shorts are. Look. There are chips on this man's shorts. Oh my God, he's eating it so weird. He's eating it. He's like turned the chip bag inside out and it looks like a street meat hot dog and he's dripping relish in chip form. Oh, you went for a reaction. Sarah went for a reaction shot of herself and flipped the camera around.
It was crazy. Then he had to like stand up and he was covered in chips. And he just, anyways, I'm sorry the story was so long.
Oh my God, that's weird.
But that's what I did was I sat beside
a
kind of weird person on the plane.
What do you feel about this? He was wearing shorts on a plane. I don't fuck with shorts on a plane.
I know.
I can't show my legs on a plane for some reason.
That was the least of my concerns at that point.
Sarah, I got no sleep last night. I swear my mattress is like a brick. It is so uncomfortable. I don't know what to do.
I feel like the one thing I realized in adulthood is actually how much time you spend sleeping and like on your mattress and how important it is to have a good one.
I spend a lot of time sleeping on it and I spend a lot of time just laying on it as well.
So why don't you upgrade to Polysleep? Because that's what I did. And now I have incredible sleeps every single night.
Okay.
For real.
Okay. Tell me more.
So they're made in Canada. They're eco-friendly. And they're each crafted with cutting-edge technology for ultimate comfort. And as someone that sleeps on it every single night, I can attest ultimate comfort.
Truthfully, I'm sold. Where can I get one?
So to start sleeping better, all you have to do is go to polysleep.ca and select retailers to discover why thousands of Canadians, including your podcast co-host, me, right here, are sleeping way better with a Polysleep mattress. Get ready for the best sleep of your life. Just go to polysleep.ca.
Best sleep of my life?
For real. So I went to the Olympics.
I did a thing.
And I did a thing. Oh, I hate when people say that. This is if you're watching the video version, this is my little friend Frige. He is a hat. That's what the mascot is. It looks like a bird, right?
Did you see anyone wearing one?
Oh, everyone was
like
wearing.
A real...
Oh, no. Everyone was wearing little frieze on their head. I wanted to buy the hat, but it was €55. I'm sorry. Jail.
A lot for a hat that
ridiculous.
You're not going to wear that often.
Anyways, this is Frige. He was the mascot of the Olympics, and he's a hat from like a revolution or something. It's very French, like very. Anyways, but I brought him back as one of my souvenirs. But we figured this whole episode could just be talking about the last month, because obviously there's been episodes dropping while I've been gone, because we like pre-recorded so many. But now we're back, we're caught up, and
but we haven't chatted either.
No,
probably.
literally.
We used to text all the time, and I was like, oh no.
Literally, Jacob and I didn't text like at all while I was away. And it got to a point where at one point I texted him being like, you're not like mad at me, right? Like you're just like giving me my space because I'm working. And he's like, yes. I was
but
like,
you were so busy.
No, like literally
well.
I did not speak to anybody. Like
you were working, but also you were, well, tell us about it. You were working, but then also exploring a little bit when you could.
So I guess like I'll start with explaining like what I was doing. So I was the lone editorial producer on the ground for the Olympics. What this means is we have branded content producers and we have editorial producers. I work on the editorial team. That means that like it's content we would make regardless of if a sponsor is attached to it. And there was only one of me. The Olympics are expensive. It's expensive to send people. And I was the lucky one that got to go. And I was producing a show called Paris Tonight, which was a brainchild of mine that ended up getting sold, actually. So I kind of pseudo became a branded content producer. And that was with our host, Ariel Hawani, who's primarily an MMA guy, but we had worked with him in the past. And I was like, this guy's personality is just perfect for this show. Turns out it had been a long time goal for him to work on the Olympics. And so it just worked out really nicely. And I had 2 camera operators. So we were a little team of 4 producing the show from the ground every day. And then we had our team in Toronto that would put it together and turn it around. And I think it ended up being like 7 people on the show total. We did athlete interviews, but then also because I was a lone editorial producer, I was a lone social producer too. So like any like social content on the ground that was like I would be making. Leading
into the Olympics, did you have a good plan of what you would be producing, or was it a mix of also being like, okay, we're on the ground now, let's find some stories?
So this was our team's first time having producers on the ground, right? Because we had 2 pandemic games. There'd never been a digital show like this on the ground before. So although I conceptualized a show, worked on it for almost 2 years, like in the sense of like what we wanted the tone to be and everything, this type of show, you don't know what it's going to be until you're there, because you don't know what access is going to look like. You don't know what the studio space is going to be. Spoiler alert, we ended up not using our studio at all because we hated it. And it just like, you don't know what that's
and you don't know who's going to be winning medals or what the storylines are going to be at the games. So the whole thing is
pivoting. Like the only things I really had pre-planned were things like the shoot at Moulin Rouge. But even that came together the week before. Like when you're doing a show like this, where it's about the experience of being on the ground, you just have to like, the way you're prepared is by knowing like event spaces, timing of events, when big athletes are performing and everything like that, and when medals could be potentially happening. But you just literally pivot. Every day I would wake up in the morning and then decide what the show was going to be that day. Between Aaron sending me like a list, our producer in Toronto, sending me a list of being like, okay, here are the things to look out for. I would wake up to an email that he had sent before he went to bed that said, here are the things to look out for tomorrow. And then we would do stuff from the ground in the morning, and I would send an email to them for them to wake up in Toronto that said, here's what I've done so far. Here's the interviews I've booked. Because also then like, you don't know what athletes are coming in. You don't know who's going to perform. Like we also had a sponsored segment. So I had to ensure that we were getting that done every single day. So
and on top of that, you're living in a new city, in a hotel that became your home. We talked about that, I think, before you left, of like how you were going to make it home, and the time difference between the team that is here. So like take us through a day in Sarah Jenkins' life in Paris.
A day in my life in Paris. Well, I was singing in an area called La Villette. My French is horrendous, and I got made fun of for it every single day by all the French speaking people. La Villette, it's basically like, we kept comparing everything to Toronto. It'd be like if I was staying at Yonge and Eglinton. That's the comparable. So it's a little bit out of the city. I mean, it's in the city, but a little bit out of the way. About 20 minutes on the subway for me to get anywhere to like central Paris. And the beauty of being 6 hours ahead is that I don't wake up stressed because I'm ahead of everybody in Toronto. So I'll wake up to emails that were sent while I was asleep. But realistically, you have like the full morning to be able to get yourself together before Toronto wakes up, which is amazing. So the mornings were usually what I had to myself if I had woken up early enough. So on an ideal morning, I would wake up. I never went to breakfast. I always skipped breakfast because it was only until 10 a.m. and I was like, I'd rather lay in my bed on my phone.
So European.
And then I would try and like go on the subway down to like a different area, either like Montmartre, or I'd go to like Le Marais or any of these areas to try and like explore a bit. And then I usually had about 2 hours of explore time before I had to be back at Canada Olympic House. And while I'm exploring, I'm on my phone booking interviews the entire time. Like I'm still working, but it's just like working while walking a little bit. Then I would come back to Canada Olympic House, which was at the Science Center. So an Olympic House is basically like a home base for a country, and where Canada House was kind of cool because 15 other nations were all in the same area. So there's all these houses. So like Brazil House, Colombia, all these other houses were all within walking distance. So it was pretty cool. Go to Canada Olympic House. That's where our studio was and my office space. We would always meet there, and that's where all the athlete interviews were conducted. So then we'd make a plan for what interviews we're doing, where we're going to shoot them for the day. And then I would decide what event we're going to, if we were going to an event that night. So Summer McIntosh has a chance to make history winning a third gold in the pool. So I decided, let's go to the pool. The complicated part was because our show didn't want to be geofenced. For those who don't know, geofencing means you only own the Olympic rights in your country. So like for Canadians, like you will only see CBC's content of the Olympics. You can't watch an NBC highlight because like it's all based off country. But if I don't show anything in venue or like footage from like an event, then you don't have to geofence our show. And we did that on purpose because we wanted to be able to reach a global audience, but it made it kind of complicated. So when we went to an event, we would go to watch it to be able to speak about it for the experience.
Shooting anything of
I was shooting social content only when I was doing that. So then I decided that, then we'd usually have to come back to Canada House, shoot like a double ender, which that means like a talk back with Donovan Bailey or like whoever it might be. And then we have to send all the footage back, do the wrap up to our show because we have to wait till the end of the day when all the potential medals are won. So that's usually around 11:30 p.m. And then I went back to my hotel usually around like 12:31, and then I would go to sleep, wake up, and do the same thing the next day.
Huge.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing you also teased, and I know that you were posting about it a lot, was the friendship bracelets that you made and gave to athletes.
Yeah.
How many did you give out? What was the response?
I made 75 and I gave away all of them.
Huge.
Not all of them to athletes. Like, I mean, at my local grocery store in La Viette, all of the employees there have friendship bracelets
Which
now.
is so cool. It's so cool though, because I know that there's, well, the other thing that we can talk about too, because I know you did this, is like pin trading is huge at the Olympics, but like friendship bracelets is cooler.
Yeah, it's like, it's also, I didn't expect anything in return. It's like I was just giving them out because obviously other people didn't have bracelets. But yeah, I didn't even have the idea. Somebody commented on my TikTok, and I don't remember your name, I'm so sorry, but shout out to the girl that commented on TikTok being like, you should make friendship bracelets, just because like,
good idea.
I've done it for so many concerts, I've done it for whatever, and she commented about it like a month and a half ago, and I like, then as I was just getting ready, I made about 75 Canada specific ones / I don't know, just like different sports, track star, swim star, whatever, all these different ones about the Olympics. And I also made medal specific ones, gold, silver, and bronze, that I gave to people when they won medals. At first, like, granted, I work with athletes all the time. So like some of the athletes knew that I was doing it because I know them personally. But then once I got there, it was cool to see the progression of people that were seeing the content. So like Melissa Humana Paredes, who's one of the beach volleyball players that got silver, went to put my hand out and she was already squealing. She was, I'm so, because she already knew because she'd been watching the content. So like that was really cool. And it felt cool to bring like a little bit of something that's like, that I love. I just love making bracelets, also like Taylor Swift lore, and then bringing that as like a unique Olympic thing. And also everyone loves getting a friendship bracelet. Truly did not matter. Andre DeGrasse wore his. Scott Russell, God bless Scott Russell's soul, it was his last Olympic Games as host, and he wore the bracelet that I made him every single night on air. I literally cried when I found that out. I was like, that's like the sweetest. And so like it was just a cool like icebreaker too. It was like original content. I don't know, it was cool. And so that was definitely fun. And like everyone pin trades, but people get really protective of their pins. This was nice that I could just like give them out freely, you know.
Were there any like super stressful moments over the month that you were there that kind of stood out of like, ooh, I'm a little outside my comfort zone here? Maybe it was adjusting to living in a new place. Maybe it was like one specific scenario that happened while working.
Well, the Olympics are funny because this is my 5th time working them. And even though I was on the ground, you still follow the same mental blocks. It happens every single time. So I'd actually told Tara about these and she'd put them in her calendar being like, check in on Sarah on these days. Because she said, what days do you end up hitting block? And literally verbatim the day that I was having my worst day, she sends me a screenshot of her calendar. She goes, you called it. So basically what happens is, this is my 5th games, first one on the ground, but the other 4 have all followed the same routine. The games start and you're so excited. You're like riding a high, like the Olympics have started. You're so excited. You get through that first weekend. You head into the first like week. You're like, okay, this is great. And then you hit like that Tuesday, Wednesday, and you realize, oh, we still have like 10 full days left.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, no, it's fine. And then you keep going a little bit, and then you're in the second weekend and you're like, oh my God, I still have a full other week left. And that 5-day period, everyone hits a mental block. Everyone gets a little exhausted, a little annoyed with each other. And it's really having to overcome that dictates whether you have a good Olympic experience or not. And also understanding that like everyone's tired, everyone's exhausted, everyone's like missing home or like isn't finding the best coffee or like they're out of their routine and all this. So you just have to have a lot of grace for like the fact that you're all going through the same thing, and maybe that's cutting a day a little shorter than you wanted to. For me, I had to do that a couple times just because I was like, okay, like I think my camera operators really need this, or like my host or whatever. Like maybe we're starting the day a little later. I would have loved to maybe shoot an extra piece of content today to get ahead, but we're not going to do that for our own sanity. But it happens every time, and it's just like it compounds when you have like multiple like 15, 16, 17 hour days in a row, right? Like any normal human, and then you're not sleeping in your normal bed and you're out of a routine and you feel like you're in Groundhog Day a little bit. So just learning to like overcome that is like the really important part.
And then speaking of it being so busy and sometimes they're overwhelming days and you know, your stories are developing and you're trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to cover next? I know that going and covering the games, covering an Olympic Games was a huge life and career goal for you, which congratulations now that you have accomplished this.
Thanks.
But were you aware of that feeling? Maybe it hasn't totally set in yet, that accomplishment, but like, were you aware over the course of your time being there, covering the games, that you were like, did you have any like moments of, oh, I'm here, I'm doing this finally? And if so, what was that like?
Yeah, I was very aware of it, almost like cripplingly aware of it going into it. And it made me very anxious leaving because it's like, I didn't have any expectations for what the actual games were going to feel like because I didn't know what to expect, right? Because I'd never been on the ground before. So I really tried to go with zero expectations because I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what like the situation is going to be like. So I had no expectations. So people keep asking if it exceeded my expectations. I didn't really have any. So like that was good because I didn't really have any expectations. But I was so aware that I was living in a moment of something I worked so hard for and that I'm only going to experience this the way that I was experiencing it once. So I was really trying to like live in the moment as much as possible. So there was moments where that happens. Obviously, it's still a job. So there are days when you're like doing the same thing back to back and you're like getting a little frustrated or you're tired. And you're like, oh, I just want this to be over. I really didn't allow myself to do that. I really was like, okay, every day, wake up, take advantage of what you can that day. There was a handful of moments where I was like, holy shit, like I'm here, like, and I've made it.
Yeah.
Standing in the pouring rain at the opening ceremony was one of them. Like drenched to the core, frozen, and I still had such a great time. I was with I was with some great colleagues who were like also like their first Olympics. Like all of us just like didn't even care that it was pouring rain and we were standing on a bridge in Paris, just like because when Canada's boat came through, we were still so excited. Like that was like a holy shit, I'm here moment. And then the first time I went to the Eiffel Tower Stadium for beach volleyball.
Such a cool looking stadium. That has to be like maybe top 3 coolest stadiums for sports ever.
No, it was crazy. And I had a moment where I was sitting there. I'm like, wow, just like 3 years ago, my sister and I were here for the first time in Paris, sitting in this spot where this beach volleyball court is, eating like some brie cheese and a baguette from the like grocery store around the corner. And now I'm here like at the, like, that was one of my like, I made it moments, I guess. There was like a couple, I think my first time watching an Olympic event, there wasn't one. I think I put expectation on that. It was so chaotic because we literally just went to watch Summer's race. Then we left, like we were running around. But my second time being at the pool, watching Summer McIntosh win her 3rd gold medal, which no Canadian had ever won 3 golds in one Olympics before. That was one where I was like, holy shit. Like, and I had this moment where I like looked up at the rings and I was like, oh my God, I'm at the fucking Olympics. Like, it's just so funny because it's like, obviously I knew I was at the Olympics. I had the pass, like I had worked for it. But it's funny when you like are aware of those moments where you're like, oh my God, this is where I am. I'm here.
Was it cool on the ground? I know you mentioned earlier that like Canada House was around or in an area with a lot of different, I guess like other nations' houses or whatever they would call them. Was it cool? Was the vibe cool on the ground? What was the vibe like touring around, meeting people? who are maybe different athletes, different people who are just there to watch? Was it exciting?
Yeah, it was cool. I will say Canada House was like a little bit more of a snooze fest compared to the other houses.
Oh, really?
And only in the sense of like not a party house. Like because it was also a TV studio, it was mostly focused on athletes and family and interviews and the Arkells. Whereas like Columbia House and Brazil House are ran by their tourism organizations. So they want like the everyday Joe to walk by and come in.
People are dancing.
Yeah, exactly. Dancing, singing, live music, all of that stuff. So to me, Canada House felt like work
it's cool
a little
to
bit.
have a mix though.
But it is cool. And it's cool to have like a home base like that where you see other Canadians or like...
or like just... Or I have no idea, but like the people who can go and be in Canada House, go watch the Arkells, go and watch.
Yeah.
Can you? If I'm Canadian and I want to go there, can I just go there?
Yeah, you buy a ticket, but you could just go.
Okay.
You had to buy a ticket, but like it's cool and like seeing the families and like the athletes who are done competing or like whatever. It was very cool. The vibe was different each day, I would say. I think a cool thing is when you're walking around a venue and you see like Canadian flags and stuff, it gives you a little like, oh, okay, like, I don't know, you kind of like head nod to each other. Or like if we walked around with a CBC mic, like people would be like, oh my God, CBC. Well, like it was cool. Really cool.
It's like the World Cup, but like probably even bigger because it is one of the only times that like the majority of the countries in the world are coming together around sport. Not just athletes though, like and probably for the first time in 2 games you said, people are actually like big. Our audiences are on the ground.
It did feel different because families could be there for sure, and just the energy felt really cool because it was the first non-pandemic games in 2 games. But yeah, you're right. I always say the only time the world comes together is for war, the World Cup, and the Olympics. It's true. Like, and it's 2 of those things are good. And so it's crazy.
There's no war on your bucket list.
And I will say the vibe in Paris, like Paris, I've only been to 1 Olympics on the ground. Nobody had any complaints. The transit system ran smoothly. There was so much security and they were all nice. Like I never felt awkward going up to like someone in a military outfit with a big fucking gun to be like, hey, can you help me with directions to this? And they would gladly help you. Everyone was so kind. I was given police officers friendship bracelets. Like the volunteers were incredible. Like there's always some confusion when you go to venues for a first time or this or that. But like truly for how much people talked about how disastrous they thought this Olympics was going to be, the Seine and this and that, they still ran all the events in the Seine. Everybody still survived. It was really smoothly ran. And although it poured rain on the opening ceremony, I don't think people are talking enough about how they successfully pulled that off. Well, it was insane.
It is cool because it was so different. You know what
so
I mean?
Different.
Was this not the only time
that's been outside like that?
Been something different than like walking around in a circle
100%.
in a big stadium, which 100%. Is so boring.
Exactly. So I think it's going to challenge other countries to be unique with the way they do it too. But overall, one of the most successful Olympics that have happened in like modern era, like Paris truly showed up for it. It was so unique how all the venues were just like different parts of the city. Like Grand Palais was the fencing venue and it was beautiful. Like it just was so well ran that any Olympics after this has like, oh shit, this is how you can run a really well-oiled machine. And I think people were nervous about France. They were nervous about protests. They were nervous about all this stuff. But France like showed up and it was an incredible Olympics to be at. Like it was ran so smoothly.
If you were going to go back, not working one, but as say just someone who wanted to go and like watch, are there any tips?
Oh, interesting.
Not necessarily how to get tickets, but like any tips of like how to best experience an Olympic Games?
I would say go watch sports that you don't normally watch. All the people I spoke to, the best events they went to were like random ones when they're like, I went to fencing or I went to this. Like, I think focusing on getting to go to as many cool, unique events you otherwise wouldn't get to go to other than like soccer and like the regular ones. That was always great. I always say like, if you're going to go to an Olympics, especially a summer one, go to at least one athletics event. It's worth it. It'll be the most expensive ticket you buy. But I didn't feel like I was at the Olympics until I walked into the athletics venue. That was the first time because it's like, that's what you picture, right? I was there for the 100 meter. It felt like I was at the Eras Tour. I had a flashing bracelet. There's like all this stuff happening.
Which arguably I would say when growing up watching the Olympics, I would say the 100 meter is
the marquee event. For sure. And so like it was when I was at that venue because it's 100,000 people. That's when I was like at Stade de France. I'm like, oh, now I'm at the Olympics.
Which also, sidebar, shout out to Andre DeGrasse for
the 4x1
the comeback performance. Because it's so tough to like not be in the final. For
Did you watch that
meter.
Live?
No, I didn't watch live, but I was just like, I was a little nervous
Everyone
after
was.
the 100
Everyone
meter,
was.
and I was like, oh God. But then it was like a dominating performance.
It was crazy. I got to watch them win the 4x100 in Eugene. I wasn't there for I was at Canada House because we were doing interviews, but I got to watch them win the 4x1 in Eugene, Oregon at World Athletics in 2022, and it was my favorite sporting moment I'd seen live, and this was my favorite sporting moment. And I do
like, this is one thing I love about the Olympics too, is like the little storylines that develop, and I'm just like, Noah Lyles like just hating on Canada, shit, and then we can come back. I love shit like
with
that.
With his COVID.
What was that about? Come on.
He said, so there's just like all that tea, but it was funny. But I don't know. I don't really have any tips, I guess, for going as a person. I actually
those are good tips to go see
number one
sports you
tip
don't know.
is that their Olympics, it's more realistic to go than I think people realize. Like Paris, like now in hindsight, I'm like, like there was still hotels at a decent price. Like if you buy the tickets to events earlier, I was walking around Luxembourg Gardens and this woman is walking around being like, does anyone want my athletic tickets for tonight? I can't go. Like people are just canning out tickets on the street sometimes. And even if you just went and watched stuff at Canada House, that's cool because you're with all these Canadians in Paris, like watching all the coverage. So I do think like in my brain, the Olympics were like this unattainable thing that's like, oh my God, only the richest rich can go to the Olympics. I actually don't think that's necessarily true. I think the Olympics are more accessible than I think they are now that I've been there and realized it. So I would like to go experience it as a fan one time, just like truly good. As a fan.
Would you go to LA?
I mean, like I'd love to work LA. It's 28. True. I'd love to work LA. True. LA is going to be weird though.
How come?
Like Paris, the reason it was so easy was because the metro system's incredible.
And
like the subway and everything.
Did you see that they're trying to make it? They're just like, there's going to be no cars going to venues. I'm like, how's that going to happen?
You can't do that. You can't do that. So I think it'll be very interesting for Los Angeles.
Sarah, you put in your broadcast channel on Instagram. And if you're not subscribed to Sarah's broadcast channel, go and check that out on her personal account. But you put out a call for questions that people might want to ask you about the Olympics and your experience there. So let's run through a couple. Yeah?
Yeah.
You kind of already answered this one, but like, give me your second favorite. What venue is your favorite place to watch an event at? So not the
volleyball
Eiffel Tower
venue.
Volleyball.
I don't even know if that was my favorite one necessarily to watch an event at. Swimming was cool because I'd never seen swimming live before. Ooh. And I didn't realize they just put a pool in the middle of a massive stadium.
Like, I saw the video of it being built and I was like, whoa.
Oh no, do you want to know what was even cooler than that? I went to Lille, which by the way, you're driving to Lille, far, basically Belgium. High-speed train, 45 minutes. Lille converted a soccer stadium into a basketball arena. It was crazy,
way.
Jacob. You walk in, and I didn't know until I arrived. You walk in, and as media, I walk in the back. The back half of the soccer stadium is used for practice courts and media. And then you walk in, and then the other half of the stadium is used as the basketball court. It was sick.
I've wanted the Raptors to do that because the Raptors started playing at the Skydome Rogers Center. And I want them to, it's the 30th anniversary, right? I want them to go back and just play like one game in the Rogers Center.
That one was probably, the Lille one was cool because it was just so different.
I do like that. And there's something to be said about the environmental impact of using an existing venue.
Well, that was the cool part of Paris. They used so many existing venues, and then they only built one new venue, and it was like the diving venue. That was the only one.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite event you got to watch?
Oh, favorite event I got to watch. That's a great question. I mean, I think I got to see 3 gold medals. So I saw Summer's first gold medal, her second, and I saw hammer throw.
I've always wondered, do people stick around for the actual medal ceremony?
They're like, they happen really quickly. So
they
do.
They do it.
Yeah, you see it. So I got to hear the anthem 3 times, which is like,
that's cool.
I was pretty cocky. I thought I was like
a good luck charm. Belting it out by the last time.
I love athletics, but I only went one day. So my favorite, honestly, again, swimming. I'd never seen swimming live. My favorite event I got to see was the night that Summer won her 3rd gold medal because Josh Leando and Ilya Karun had gone double podium the race before. So they got silver, bronze in the race before. And then Summer was, so then you were like,
dominating
oh my God.
The pool.
And then like we hadn't had a double podium yet. And then the next race was Summer winning a 3rd gold medal for Canada. Like that was one where I was vibrating. I was like, this is huge. Electric. And this is like crazy that I'm witnessing it.
This is a good second question that's a follow-up on that from someone else. But what event had the best atmosphere?
Volleyball.
Yeah?
Beach volleyball. If you've never seen beach volleyball live, buy a ticket. They do all of these things where they're like bouncing, and then there's like
the crowd does.
Yeah, like it's like choreographed things that everybody knows that goes to a beach volleyball thing. So like if someone gets like an ace, they do this like
that's fun. I love shit like that.
No, it was so good. And then they have like all these chants they do. And I was there for volleyball, which I don't know if anyone saw. There's like a viral moment where Canada versus Brazil in the gold medal game, and they're fighting, the Canadian team and the Brazilian team. They're yelling at each other, and then the DJ started playing Imagine by the Beatles
to bring them together,
to bring everyone together, and everyone in the crowd just starts swaying and singing it.
A good DJ, honestly, at any sports venue can change.
That was the best atmosphere, though. It was great. I'd never been. All the venues were crazy loud, like so loud, but that one was so cool because they had all these choreographed dances I didn't know existed.
Okay, cool. This is a good question too, and this this is work related, and let's say not in athletics, or let's say not any kind of sport venue, but something outside. It's your favorite filming location for whatever you were shooting. So something outside of sports.
Oh, I love that. Anything where we got to go to like iconic venues. Also, though, like one of my favorite shots of the games was we just shot at a cafe that was across the street from Canada House, and like it just looked beautiful the way that we had like
was that like later in the games? I think
I saw
it.
One
of
our last episodes. Cool. It looked, and it had like the iconic little like bistro chairs and stuff. Yeah. My favorite though was we were on our way to volleyball, and all I wanted, because it was called Paris Tonight, was an iconic shot with the sparkling tower behind Ariel to open the show one night. It's all I wanted, and it took me 15 days to get it, but we finally got it because I knew the tower hack, if you're ever going to Paris, twinkles every hour on the hour for 5 minutes. And we were getting close, and I timed it perfectly, and he had one take to get it, and we got it. We got that shot. Huge. And like the Eiffel Tower in the background. But yeah, that and the cafe I think were my favorite like unique little shots we did. And then like just other filming locations, like we got to go to Moulin Rouge and go to the costume room, which was crazy.
Okay, when I forget the name of Allie who you shot with, but I did a deep dive. She came up on my feed after Haley and I went and saw Moulin Rouge. Because she does cool like behind the scenes vlogs and the whole experience. And I was like, whoa, the cast. First of all, the cast is full of people that are not Parisian.
No, they're almost,
which makes sense.
They told us they're almost all international. They're almost all from the UK, Canada, and the US.
Yeah, but it's a cool show and a cool experience.
No, she was so cool.
Okay, this is maybe a follow-up on what we were just talking about, but doesn't have to be necessarily favorite. This person has framed it as, who's your favorite Olympic athlete to meet, or who were you most starstruck by?
Oh, I didn't get starstruck by anybody because I didn't go to enough venues. I don't think. Oh, I saw Kevin Durant, but I wasn't starstruck by Kevin Durant. Ooh. I saw him walking around. I was like, oh, you're real tall.
There were a lot of rumors that Kevin Durant was high a lot of the time. Did you get that vibe?
He was at athletics. Starstruck, no.
Okay.
I don't know why, because I went to the bathroom when my whole team saw Snoop Dogg.
No.
And no one texted me like, Sarah, come out of the washroom. But then they all saw Snoop Dogg. And I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Starstruck, I didn't really get starstruck by anyone. Granted, like I work with most of these athletes all the time. Like I was only talking to Canadian athletes. So like I work with them all the time. I see them all the time. So that's not like an abnormal thing. One of my favorite athletes is Sweetheart Cameron Rogers. She is like the hammer thrower that won gold. She is the sweetest. And she like, I gave her the bracelet and she just was like the best reaction. Like she was so kind. She was the best. She's wonderful. Honestly, I was so impressed by Summer McIntosh to be 17 years old and have all this expectation and stuff, and then still be like the kindest, like well put together.
And the other thing that I'm impressed by too is like they're out there doing a lot of press. They're doing interviews. They have like you said, they have their families on site now. But like they're also competing at the Olympics. You know what I mean? That other stuff would stress me out.
I will say, being there on the ground gave me a different perspective of the Olympics because I work the Olympics in 2-year cycles, right? So to me, the Olympics comes every 2 years. Like you work a summer, then you work a winter, and so on and so forth. Being there, especially for heartbreak. So someone like Damian Warner, who heartbreaking, just like underperformed, but then still came into media the next day because he just wanted to like face the music a little bit. I had newfound respect because sitting there listening to him, I'm like, oh right, your Olympic journey is 4-year cycles. And like when you finish an event and you maybe like this is your shot, and there's a few athletes like that.
Especially for athletes who have been competing for a long time.
And once you maybe underperformed due to their expectations, like when we're like, are you thinking about LA? That's 4 years away. Like think of how different we're all going to be in 4 years.
Yeah.
To have to commit to another quad is a lot. So what being on the ground gave me a new perspective on is when we'd say like 2-time Olympian, 3-time Olympian, like that's no joke. That's 8 to 12 years of their life dedicated to this one thing. And as somebody that just goes and covers the games every 2 years, they feel like they come very often. But for these athletes, they don't.
And they have to be in their prime for that entire time.
Like exactly. I think the difference between being like 28 to 32 is crazy.
Yo, yeah.
Like,
let me tell you.
So like it's the difference between like me competing in Olympics and you competing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. And so it gave me a new appreciation for the quads.
Did you end up getting your tattoo?
No, I didn't. Not for lack of trying. I had an appointment booked and then I got too busy with my job. And then the second time I went to go was on the Monday when I was having an emotional time and I was walking around Paris crying and I was like trying to kill time, trying to go to this place called Tattoo 13 because they had fine line work and I thought it would be perfect for me. And then they were closed. Even though the internet said they were open, they were closed.
It wasn't meant to be.
No, it wasn't. And then I ended up running into somebody from like my past, like literally 2 minutes later, and it just was crazy time. So anyways, I guess I was meant to run into that person and not get my tattoo.
Will you get it still, or do you want to just get it there?
No. I'll still get a tattoo that represents my time in Paris. I think I might get something that like, I don't know. I also wasn't fully sold on what I was going to get yet. So I mean, not the Olympic rings. That is reserved for athletes only. But I wanted to get something that represented my time there. So like one of my ideas was the flame was a hot air balloon.
Which was so cool.
So I thought that'd be kind of cool to get something that kind of looked like the hot air balloon. Or I was just going to get, it was the XXXIII Olympiad in Roman numerals.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
So I might just do that. So we'll see. I just don't want something that's like blatantly
Olympics.
Producer, whatever. But okay. No, I didn't get it yet.
I don't know what this one refers to. Apparently I'm not caught up on the vlogs, but did the chocolate muffins live up to the hype?
So it's not about the vlogs, Jacob. The chocolate muffin in the athlete village went viral.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm not plugged into that.
I was not allowed in the athlete village. So everyone kept saying, you have to go try the muffin. I wasn't able to because, and one, I don't like muffins. Two, the more important thing is I don't like muffins. And two, the athletes village is no media. It's only reserved for athletes and like team members.
One smuggled out any muffins?
Well, somebody did, but I didn't try it. We had somebody else try it on camera, but I did not try it. But apparently it's just a muffin. So.
Okay. How about this? This is gonna be a good one. As someone who has been to Paris before, how did the city feel different compared to Olympics time?
I had never been to Paris during peak busy season in the summer. So at first I just felt like it was peak busy season. But then on Monday, when I was walking around by myself, I could feel the calm. It was crazy. Like,
oh yeah.
I walked in the same area Sunday morning and Monday morning, and it was bumping on Sunday morning, and then Monday it was just like crickets. And obviously it's a weekend to like a weekday, but even on weekdays, like I could feel the difference in energy of the games being over, and it was weird once it was done. It felt busy, but it just felt like a busy European city in the summer. It didn't feel like craziness. You're at a venue, obviously, but it just felt like, I don't know, what I assume Paris in the summer feels like, because I've only been in off-peak seasons. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good transition then, because speaking of it seeming a little bit more quiet, you're back now. We talked about that last day. His emotions were high. You got on a plane, had a weird plane seat mate, watched past lives.
Sobbed silently.
Got back to Toronto a couple of days ago. You've been to the spa to get rejuvenated. I'm sure it's still settling in, but what are your immediate post-Olympics feelings?
It literally doesn't feel like I went.
Really?
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I was trying to describe this to Terry yesterday. I was watching my own vlogs last night to try and remember what I did.
Oh, interesting.
Like this is where like vlogging your life is so beneficial, because I have like a scrapbook essentially of like everything I did and how I was feeling and what I did every single day, which is amazing. But yeah, it feels like I went to another planet, came back, and nothing's changed. Because like Toronto's still the same.
Yeah.
And like my friends are still the same. My life is still the same. But I just went and lived this massive thing. And I don't think it's really hit me yet.
Is there a sense of accomplishment of like, speaking of, I know you mentioned like closing of chapters, like does it feel like you did it, like you finished closing that book? And
yes and no. On Monday I was definitely feeling it. I was sobbing a lot walking around Paris. My friend Libby says, you're not the first girl to cry in Paris alone, and you won't be the last. I was also exhausted, and I just think that like once my brain has second because it was over, like I allowed myself. And literally what got me was I was listening to Long Live by Taylor Swift, torturing myself. Why did I do that? And then there's a line in that song that says it was the end of a decade and the start of an age. And that line just like hit me in the throat, like throat punch. Cause I was like, oh my God, like it was 10 years ago that I like decided that this was going to be my career goal. And I've had such a focused career goal for 10 years. If I asked anybody, ask me 10 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever, I just want to go to an Olympics. I just want to go to Olympics. That's all I want to do. I just want to go to Olympics. So now I'm on the other side of it and I can't think about it too much because it freaks me out to be like, okay, now what? I don't have a focused career goal right now, which I've always had one. I have like dreams and aspirations, but like as for like a focused career goal that I can see the steps on how to get there, I don't have. So I think I'm avoiding those feelings right now. So I haven't felt very like, I don't know if fulfilled's the right word. Like it doesn't feel like I did it.
Avoiding those feelings, or have they just not kind of arrived?
No, it's not even purposely.
Or felt them yet.
I just haven't felt them yet. It hasn't hit me yet.
Yeah.
I also just think the being back hasn't hit me yet. I don't think it's really gonna hit me till I'm back like at work in the office. Yeah. I think that's when maybe it'll hit me. Or like I'm meeting up with my colleagues this weekend. Maybe it'll hit me then. I don't really know. But it's like crazy. I look at my Instagram feed. I'm like, holy shit. Like I was at the Olympics and I just like my brain, it feels like a fever dream. Like it feels like it didn't happen. I was texting my host Ariel about it today and he says he feels the same way.
Which is so wild because from the outside seeing your content, which is like we said, we hadn't been texting every day, which is typically normal for us, but like watching it from afar, not just the Olympics, but I mean like your experience in the Olympics and probably anyone else who's watched your experience on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. You did so much. So probably from my perspective, it's watching. It's like, oh my God, Sarah's doing this today. Oh, you're going and seeing this cool summer winning. You're shooting at Moulin Rouge. Yeah. You're over here. You did so much that I couldn't even dream of experiencing that much in that short period of time. Yeah. It's got to be overwhelming.
So I think that's why it feels like I didn't go. I think it's almost like I experienced so much in such a compact amount of time that my brain can't even comprehend it. And I don't think I'm going to be able to for like a little bit. Like I think I got to remove myself from it for a little bit to be like, holy shit, I did that. Like, you know, like even like every day, like maybe when I go back and rewatch episodes of the show, because I need to do that in the next couple of weeks because Canadian Screen Award nominations are due in the next 2 weeks. So that's what I have to do next. But I don't know. I did live in the moment. Like I truly allowed myself to have those moments where I lived in the moment. But it still is this weird sensation of like, I'm like looking back on. It's so weird living in a moment that you know is like this thing that you've worked towards, and I can't express it any other way. It's so bizarre. I've never had an experience like that in my life before, and now like to come back and it's just like I was back in my apartment. I'm just back doing whatever.
Because it's been a goal for so many years.
Exactly.
But then also you've probably been doing so much prep to lead up to the Olympics.
100%.
And then actually work-wise, and then being there working, being busy. There's not a lot of time to think about that.
I couldn't even fathom being an athlete. I couldn't fathom being an athlete who, if I feel this way and all I did was like take videos, I can't fathom being an athlete who spends 4 years of your life
but at the
training
same time,
every day and then you finish it. At the same time, I think
that maybe you and other people in the media or other people who are supporting athletes or making the games come to life do lose a little bit of like the celebration of you guys as well for being able to tell those stories, because an athlete who goes and wins a gold medal can stand on the podium and they hear the national anthem get played, but like there is no huge, well, maybe it's the Canadian Screen Awards. But it's a tougher thing to
that was actually the thing that was probably the most rewarding was athletes who followed me, like who I were mutuals with on Instagram or whatever, who when they were done competing, I was like, oh my God, congratulations or whatever. And like they would say, it's so cool seeing what you do. Cause she's like, we don't understand. And like, so that was actually probably the most rewarding part of the experience for me, was when athletes would come up to me and say, no, like it's so cool seeing like what you do in a day. Like you do this and this, and you do all of this stuff that they didn't, like they just sit with us for 10 minutes for an interview. That's what I'm trying
to say a little bit too, is like, you should be so proud of yourself for being able to accomplish that, but also working legitimately so hard at an Olympic level of someone in your position. You know what I mean? Like that's legitimately what it is.
I know, it's so funny. I kept on saying the phrase, you know, when people go like, this is my Olympics. It's
You're
like it was like literally my Olympics.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah, it's that was probably the part that gave me a cool perspective to be like, oh, okay, like to me, it's all second nature. That's just my job. I know what I'm doing, but people seeing it who were also there for a different reason, or I had like friends that work as media attaches for like with the teams or whatever, like having them be like, I had no idea like what it would take to put on a show like that, or I had no idea what you guys do day to day for a job, and having them give feedback and talk about it was like really cool. It was just something I didn't really expect.
Do you have one final takeaway of your Olympic Games experience?
Oh goodness gracious. I really wish I had stuck with French through high school. No, I don't know. I think I don't know if there's a takeaway. I just allowed myself to like live in the moment more than I ever have in my life, in being very aware of how big a moment is. And I'm very grateful for that. And to be honest, I know we talk about therapy all the time. I don't think if I'm not in therapy and like actively like thinking about that, it's something I was stressed about for all of leading up to going. I was really scared about having FOMO about not being in Toronto. I was really scared about missing people or whatever. I said it to my friends and I love them I did not miss a single person while I was gone, because I was so busy. I was so like just focused on being there and like living it to the fullest and like not wishing away those 3.5 weeks that I just allowed myself to like live in it and be in it. And I'm very grateful that I allowed myself to do that. And I think that's how I got the best experience out of it, to be honest. So I just think just like being aware enough to like live in the moment and live to the fullest is probably the biggest takeaway that I took from it. And you know, I took away from some like things that are learnings for like career goals maybe, or like other things I'd like to do in my career. Like I've realized that my relationship with athletes and with people is the most important to me. And I think maybe in the future, maybe I don't want to be media side. Maybe I'd love to be more athlete facing, to be a part of that experience a little bit more. It's really complicated being in the media when it's like someone underperforms or something you have to ask them about it. I just, there's some things that I don't love about it. And so being there firsthand and being like around athletes, I think I realized that's more so if I continue working in this industry, that's maybe more where I'd want to go. So that was also a takeaway in itself of like learning what I like and don't like about my job.
Do you feel like that's the next step for Sarah
No,
Jenkins?
I do have
my finding the direction.
The next step, it's so funny. The second I like finish it, I have all these like TikTok comments being like, what's your new goal? What's your new dream? And I do have it. I just don't think I'm ready to talk about it. I think I need to like just sit with this and this accomplishment and let this year 2024 be about this goal and accomplishment. I still have to work the Paralympics. I'm not going back to Paris, but I'm still working the Paralympics in a couple weeks, and everyone should watch those. They are absolutely incredible athletes. And like, not only are they incredible athletes that are doing times and performances that are almost at the same level as the Olympics. Actually, some people are at an Olympic level, like they would make an Olympic final with how fast they're running or whatever it might be. But then also you have an added layer of like this adversity and these stories that just like make the Paralympics so special. So we still have the Paralympics coming up. And then I'm going on a big vacation, and then we'll see. But I do know what my next dream is, my next goal. But I think we're gonna have to like wait a little bit to let me decompress from this one. I think it's like toxic work culture if I just go, okay, on to the next one as soon as I check.
It's honestly good that you have, because I know you have cottage time lined up too, and
cottage
then a
time.
big trip. And it's it's good to have the relaxation
and with that,
on the schedule.
This is going to be a little pause in the podcast, not like a new season break or anything, but we are going to take a couple of weeks off just to reconfigure
and really just a couple weeks, like we're back
truly, we're
very
back like
soon.
In 2 weeks. We're taking a 2-week summer vacation just as a way to like chill. Go back and listen to old episodes if you haven't listened to any
We mentioned
yet.
a couple here. Listen to the Terry Hart episode.
Yes, I know. So like there's a few that you can go back and listen to if you're not fully caught up. We're only gonna be gone for like 2 weeks, but we figured we didn't want to leave you hanging. I wasn't gonna take a break and be like, oh, we'll talk about the Olympics in a month. Bye guys. I feel like that'd be cruel. So yeah, just thanks for anyone that watched and kept listening to the pod while I was away, but also watched the vlogs and stuff.
Yes.
It gave me a new like love for vlogging again too.
Yeah?
Yeah. Which is like I've had a complicated relationship with it over the past year, and like it gave me back like the little like love and the excitement for it. Like me like sitting up at 1:30 in the morning in my hotel room like editing the vlogs.
Yeah.
It was very exciting, and like finding new ways to like open the vlogs or tell stories or whatever. Like it actually like scratched that itch again for me, which was really cool.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we loved it. So thank you so much for listening to this episode, Talking Fast. Thank you, Jacob, for interviewing me.
Well, congratulations to you, Sarah, again for your career accomplishment.
Thank you. On to the next one. And we're going to take a little bit of a break, but make sure you still like, comment, subscribe, rate 5 stars, listen to old episodes if you haven't yet. You can also follow us on Instagram at talkingfastshow. We're also going to do a voicemail coming up to catch you up on everything. So make sure you should send us some questions. talkingfastshow@gmail.com or shoot us a message on Instagram. That's been Jacob. I've been Sarah. Izzy's behind the camera, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.